Another officer-involved shooting at another Wisconsin high school. Updates from Oshkosh and Waukesha right now at 6.
And an inside look at the Madison Police Department's new use of force training.
Plus, changes could soon be coming to the former General Motors site in Janesville. What developers are recommending straight ahead.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 6.
Thank you for joining us tonight. For a second day in a row, a Wisconsin high school student is shot while inside school.
The entire Oshkosh School District will remain closed tomorrow after an attack and shooting inside the city's West Side High School this morning. The city's police chief says a 16-year-old student at Oshkosh West stabbed a school resource officer before the officer shot the student. The teenager had entered the officer's office at the school, produced a weapon, and then stabbed the officer. Police Chief Dean Smith described the student's weapon as an edged weapon, but did not elaborate. Students say they heard screams. Some went into lockdown. Others evacuated to a nearby middle school.
A boy was knocking on every door saying there was a gunshot, there's people, get out.
We all ran out of the class, and then we saw everybody from our school running to across the street.
The officer shot the student one time. Both have been treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Chief Smith says the resource officer is a current police officer with the Oshkosh PD. The incident now being turned over to the State Division of Criminal Investigation. 2
of Governor Evers' kids graduated from Oshkosh West High School. Today he says, quote, "We can't keep pretending that this only happens in other communities or in other states. It's happening here too. We can't just accept that violence in our schools is a foregone conclusion." During an event today at the state capitol, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul was asked about today's shooting. He says the state needs to work to identify potential threats earlier and continue to invest in safety precautions.
Our school, Office of School Safety, works to provide training on threat assessments, to provide guidance to schools on school safety measures, and I think continuing to invest in training and in protocols that office can provide, and also research into what can make our schools safer is really valuable and something I think that we need to continue supporting.
Meanwhile, in western Wisconsin, the Sparta School District canceled classes today due to a potential security threat. According to the district's Facebook page, the district decided to cancel classes last night after getting some information about a missing gun that may be in the possession of a student. The district says that information is unconfirmed, and the student in question was not at school yesterday. And an update on the Waukesha South High School shooting from yesterday. Police say the 17-year-old student was shot, had pointed a pellet gun at another student's head in a confrontation. An officer, now identified as Captain Dan Bauman, shot the student 3 times, once in the leg, twice in the arm. Authorities immediately gave the student first aid, stopping the bleeding. Police found 2 firearms in the classroom. They say both were pellet guns. All Madison police officers are being trained in a new technique to take down a resisting suspect.
Police say they've learned from recent trends and have found a training that will keep officers and the suspect more safe. Amanda Quintana is here now with more on what's changing.
MPD was recently trained in this technique by officers in St. Paul, Minnesota. Over the last 3 years, the Madison Police Use of Force Coordinator has been looking at use of force incidents and trends, finding they were using techniques that had a higher chance of injury for the officer and the suspect. This new tactic is aimed at changing that.
Get off of me! Take the legs.
I got the legs!
Down, 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 down.
This is the new way to take down a violent suspect in Madison.
I'm not going anywhere, you guys. I'm not going anywhere.
The end result, them being face down and cuffed, but it only works with multiple officers.
His hand is clear.
Wisconsin's statewide defense and arrest tactics manual trains officers to work as individuals. But as Sergeant Kimba 2 shows today's class, 2 officers with the same intention of taking down a suspect, still using training meant for an individual, just doesn't work as well.
Emily's thinking, hey, this person's out of control, we need to take him to the ground. And she goes to her left, right? What happens to the subject?
They end up pulling different directions too, calling it wishboning.
We're working off a trained technique, what the state told us to do, but we didn't work it effectively.
And it often leaves more chance for injury to the officer and the suspect.
The biggest component, I think, is is encouraging our officers and giving them the tools to act as a team. You know, when we have the luxury of having multiple officers.
Acting Chief Vic Wall says unlike many of the state's smaller departments, this team tactic will really come in handy for the small amount of calls that do require use of force.
It's not a replacement for the state defense and arrest tactics system, it's a supplement to it.
This simple change means instead of going to quickly fight or strike, together officers take the time to get the dominant position.
Take the legs.
Got the legs.
Down, down, down.
This tactic is for someone that's violently resisting, but it would not be used for someone with a weapon. That would cause officers to use a higher level of force.
Turning to weather now, our stretch of calm weather will continue for the next few days. We're looking at highs in the mid to upper 30s. Let's check your first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canaldi.
And that would keep temperatures above normal, like today when we had high temperatures in the lower 40s. But as we take a look at Doppler track, things very quiet across the northern part of the Midwest. Just a few light snow showers coming in off of Lake Superior. But look at the high temperatures today. Here in Madison, 43 was the official high temperature, 45 in Janesville, 46 in Boscobel. Even in the north, where there's some snow cover north of the Dells, temperatures are still in the upper 30s. Current temperatures are generally in the mid to upper 30s, a little colder north of the Dells with readings right around the freezing mark. By tomorrow morning, temperatures will be in the upper 20s. We'll see a breezy day tomorrow with high temperatures still above normal in the upper 30s, and it looks like we'll see the quiet weather continue for the rest of the week, but changes are on the way for next week. I'll have those details and weather in a few minutes.
The man accused of a Thanksgiving Day shooting in Janesville is now being held on a $10,000 cash bond. Gage Holmes faces one charge of second-degree reckless injury. According to a criminal complaint, he allegedly shot his mother's estranged husband after a dispute. The victim is expected to be okay. Holmes' next appearance in court will be Friday, December 13th.
City of Reedsburg is considering expanding the areas where sex offenders can live. The city administrator says right now, sex offenders can't live within 1,500 feet of a child safety zone, like a school or community building. They want to scale that back to 1,250 feet to provide more options for them to live. The city administrator said with the restrictions that are in place now, they really don't have many options.
If your ordinance is so encompassing and the restricted area is so large that it kind of covers your entire town and it doesn't permit any designated offenders to live anywhere.
There are about 9 registered sex offenders living in or around Reedsburg right now. The city wants to hear from you on this at the next meeting to discuss this proposal and to possibly make a final decision. That is on January 13th. It's been more than a decade since the last vehicle was made at the GM facility in Janesville.
But now leaders are focused on what's next to come for the site. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter spoke to one of the developers behind the plan and joins us now with how they say it could transform the city. Adam?
Yeah, Eric and Charlotte, the president of Angus Young Architectural Firm says it's not often they're given a 5 million square foot blueprint to work with. But now changes coming to what they're calling Centennial Park could address some of the city's biggest needs.
From a bird's eye view, high above the city, piles of rubble are all that's left of the former GM plant in Janesville. To a developer, it's a bit of a blank canvas.
This point in time, the opportunities for jobs within the footprint of the existing city of Janesville is huge.
Angus Young and Associates have been working with property owner Commercial Development Property to create a roadmap for what could come next for the site. President Joe Stottleman says the existing infrastructure, like a railway, makes this a prime location for any developer.
That is completely unique in probably the nation. There isn't that many sites. Both those companies have told us that this is a priority site for them because of that.
But it's not just industry that could move here. Rather, restaurants, office space, even housing, all outlined in the plan. The developer says that's on purpose.
Housing is an important topic within the city of Janesville right now. And the need for affordable housing and for new housing options within the city is a priority that everybody is going after.
These plans are now left with Janesville's Planning Commission, who has a meeting set to look them over for December 16th. But those behind the plan so far say it's a step in the right direction.
Now, I also talked to city leaders in the city of Janesville today who say they're not able to comment publicly on this proposal until the Planning Commission has had time to look it over. But with the opportunity to develop 260 acres, those behind the plan say it could be big for developing the local economy, housing, and jobs.
Adam, thank you. Still ahead tonight at 6, what wildlife officials are blaming for the dramatic decrease in deer taken during this year's gun deer hunt.
Plus, we'll introduce you to Tuesday, one of the newest additions to the Heartland Farm Sanctuary in Verona.
And there's more local news tonight at 10. A string of burglaries over the holiday weekend on the UW campus. Thousands of dollars worth of instruments are stolen. We'll share the latest in the investigation tonight on News 3 Now at 10. Welcome back. New data from the state DNR shows hunters killed dramatically fewer deer during this year's gun deer season. Preliminary figures show hunters killed just under 161,000 deer this year, which is down 25% from last year. DNR officials say the season started so late this year that hunters missed the rut and deer weren't moving around. They also said heavy wind, snow, and rain later in the week may have kept hunters out of the woods. Well, starting today, a portion of the Military Ridge State Trail near Verona will be closed to all traffic to accommodate road construction near the new high school. The trail will be closed from the east side of the Highway 151 tunnel to South 9 Mound Road until December 24th. During this time, bicyclists and pedestrians will have to use a reroute.
Former Governor Scott Walker says he will not run again for office before 2025, but after that, he wouldn't rule anything out. He says he wouldn't run for office until his commitment to serve as president of the Young America's Foundation is complete after 2024. He starts that job in 2021. Walker also says he hopes Rebecca Clayfish, his former lieutenant governor, runs for governor in 2022. And check this out, one of the newest additions to the Heartland Farm Sanctuary in Verona. Tuesday, the chicken came from the Green Bay area, born with a slipped tendon. She has very limited use of one of her legs, so the sanctuary helped create a wheelchair for her. It allows her to put more of her weight on her strong leg. They call her a role model for anyone who visits.
Tuesday is a wonderful ambassador because she's this role model for a chicken that is differently abled, but receives absolute love, care, and attention, and is able to thrive even though she may not look just like everybody else. So it's a lesson in compassion and it's a lesson in resilience.
Heartland says they're still in the early stages of teaching Tuesday how to use that wheelchair. They say her story is just one of the many at the sanctuary where animals are given a second chance at life.
Still to come in sports, ahead of the Big Ten championship game this weekend, see if any of the UW players could make the All-Big Ten team.
But first, get out and enjoy the calm weather while you still can. Meteorologist Gary Canalti will have his complete forecast when we come back.
The city of Duluth, Minnesota is still digging out from a snow-filled weekend. Nearly 2 feet of snow fell in less than 24 hours. The city says it's been a challenge for crews tackling just the main road, so some residential streets haven't seen a plow since that storm began.
They got a lot of snow up there now, but nothing like we got. What was that? Gary's first week on the job?
Well, no, I was here about 3 months, but it was 29 years ago today that Madison looked very much like the video that you saw out of Duluth. We had our worst snowstorm in Madison history. Pictures don't lie. We had quite the whopper of a snowstorm here. It was before we even started our morning show, so I was just doing the cut-ins during CBS this morning and the noon show. But I got here at about 2 in the morning and didn't leave until about 6 o'clock at night. It was our heaviest snowfall ever, 17.3 inches in 24 hours, still a Madison record to this day. We had wind gusts of 64 miles per hour here at the station, snow drifts to 7 feet, and 1 week before that snowstorm, the high temperature in Madison hit 65 degrees and broke a record high. So that shows you how quickly temperatures can change in weather conditions this time of year. We'll look for highs in the upper 30s the next couple of days, briefly dip into the upper 20s on Friday, then see a mild weekend with maybe some rain showers on Sunday, but we'll see some light snow on Monday with falling temperatures. And those temperatures for the rest of next week, I've got in the low to mid 20s, and that might even be optimistic if some of the latest computer model forecasts are correct. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, which takes us through the 13th of December, calling for about a 60 to 70% chance of below normal temperatures. That cold air is expected to plunge right down into the Midwest, and with warmer than normal temperatures along the East Coast and active storm track sets up, the highest probability of above normal precipitation to our west, but still most of the Midwest with at least a slightly higher than normal chance of above normal precipitation, which in this case would be in the form of snow. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. Very quiet right now. High today, 43 degrees compared to the average high of 35, low 27. That was 7 degrees above normal as well. Right now we're at 37 with mostly clear skies. Winds are out of the west at 5 miles per hour. 3 things you need to know in the forecast. Partly sunny skies expected through Saturday with the exception of Friday being a little colder. High temperature should be in the upper 30s. Sunday we'll see a chance of some rain showers, but that will change to some flurries Sunday night. And then Monday we'll see some light snow. It'll be windy and colder, and those temperatures will be very cold for the rest of next week with another system toward the end of the week that brings us a better chance of accumulating snow. There's the snow cover you can see up near Lake Superior. These areas about 2 feet of snow. Duluth about 18 to 24 inches, about a foot basically north of Wausau and Eau Claire right now. But temperatures are generally in the mid-20s in the northern part of the state, still upper 30s where there's little or no snow cover here in southern Wisconsin. Our forecast calls for partly cloudy skies overnight, low temperature dropping to 27 degrees. And tomorrow should be a nice day, a little breezy, high temperature at 38, so not quite as mild as today, but still not bad for this time of year. Look for temperatures to drop off into the upper 20s by tomorrow morning. Don't see any really cold air around, at least in the short term. Partly sunny skies tomorrow, high temperatures upper 30s. Tomorrow night, maybe a little more cloud cover toward morning with low temperatures in the mid-20s. I'm looking at a little more cloud cover on Thursday. Might have to go mostly cloudy, but this should be a thin overcast. High temperatures will be in the mid to upper 30s. 7 to 10 day forecast. Look for high temperatures to drop back into the upper 20s for Friday, but be back in the upper 30s for Saturday and mid 40s for Sunday before those rain showers come in. And then we'll see the colder weather with a pretty good chance of snow toward the end of next week.
The Badger women's hockey team is #1 in the country again. Now they're going to try to stay there. We'll hear from Mark Johnson in sports.
Hi, I'm Michelle Carolla. Tonight on the news at 9, UW-Madison students are trying to figure out who stole musical instruments during the holiday break. That's first on Fox at 9.
It's postseason football awards time in the Big Ten. Today, the defensive awards. Tomorrow, the top players on offense. One Badger is named first team today, and that's linebacker Zach Bond. He had to wait his turn a few years at Wisconsin, but this year he blossomed into one of the conference's best. He was second in the Big Ten in sacks, behind only the defensive player of the year, Ohio State's Chase Young. Bond had 11.5 sacks in addition to 62 tackles. He also returned an interception for a touchdown, too. In addition to Bond being on the All-Big Ten first team, fellow linebacker Chris Orr named to the second team by both the coaches and media, too. Kick returner Aaron Cruikshank is also a second-team selection. Honorable mention for Eric Burrell, Matt Henningsen, Faion Hicks, and Isaiah Loudermilk. The Badgers, of course, preparing for their rematch with Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship Saturday night in Indianapolis. Remember their first meeting? 38-7 Buckeyes in Columbus 5 weeks ago. Will things be different this time? Well, the Badgers sure hope so.
Yeah, it's a unique opportunity to play a team 2 times in a single season. Not many teams in the country are preparing for a game this week, and it's just another chance for us to show who we are.
The Badger women's hockey team back as the #1 ranked team in the country this week. Wisconsin is 16-1-1 heading into this weekend's home series against 10th ranked Minnesota Duluth. It's the last games before finals and the holiday break. Is Mark Johnson worried about a team looking ahead to a break to the letdown? Well, not really.
You know, if you want to be successful in this business and in sports, you got to be committed on a daily basis and create those habits. So, you know, as I learn those and I understand those and I see those from my teammates and I'm doing them myself, it becomes second nature.
You'll never guess who's the NBA's Eastern Conference Player of the Month. Yep, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He averaged 31 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists a game in October and November, and leading the Bucks to a 17-3 record in their current 12-game winning streak. Since the start of last season, Giannis has been the Eastern Conference Player of the Month for all but 1 month. The Packers are still alone in first place in the NFC North with 4 regular season games left. That's because Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks helped him out by beating the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football last night, 37-30. Wilson threw 2 touchdown passes to lead the Hawks past the Vikings. So the Packers still lead the Vikings by 1 game. They'll host the 3-9 Washington Redskins this Sunday at Lambeau Field. But the big one is down the road. Packers at Vikings, December 23rd, U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Now, one more highlight from that Seahawks game. After David Moore scored a touchdown, the Seattle receivers showed off their new touchdown dance. We go back to 1988 and the new edition hit, If It Isn't Love. No? This dance syncs perfectly to If It Isn't Love. The Seahawk receivers busted out an in-sync dance, Bye Bye Bye, earlier. This is the latest, If It Isn't Love, by New Edition.
I'm impressed with your musical knowledge from back
If
in the
it isn't love, why do I feel this way? Why does she stay on my mind? And if it isn't love, why does it hurt so bad?
You know, I think it was on this day, too, that the Bears came out with the Super Bowl shuffle.
Is that right?
Yeah. So,
Really?
it's, you know, it must be the...
Wow.
Must be something in music and football.
It is amazing. It is amazing to
Maybe
see.
your weather dance.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, if you're planning on putting up your holiday lights, this might be the time to do it. The weather's pretty quiet, so yes, do it now before the weather turns for next week. Temperatures today got it into the lower to middle 40s. Current temperatures, upper 30s, and look for high temperatures to stay in the upper 30s next couple of days. A little colder for Friday, upper 30s for Saturday. Sunday, there might be a couple of rain showers, but after that, temperatures go downhill. There'll be some snow chances Monday, and then again, late Thursday into Friday of next week.
Looking pretty good, though, for those that want to head down to Indy for the Badger game.
Yeah, looking
through the
very
weekend, looking pretty solid. Gary, thanks. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 6.
Have a great evening, and we'll see you back here at 10.